we're continuing with a lightning talk. This was anticipated from the afternoon from Abdaullah Qamar from the TRA, Oman. He will present about Oman, the global connectivity.
Good afternoon, everyone. And again, thanks for being here. And also, just wanted to make an admission that also this is my first time at MENOG. And it's been fantastic. I mean, I've been very impressed by the presentations and the content that is covered. So, Oman, an emerging leader on the global connectivity map. I know we've heard a lot about how Oman is progressing in terms of connectivity, the development of the ecosystem and players who are connecting here. So Oman is definitely gaining prominence on the map. Also, we have, from the presentations I've learned that, there are some ways or areas of improvement. That is definitely something to look onto. So my name is Abdaullah Qamar, and I look after technology and technical standards in the Telecommunication Regulatory Authority of Oman. And we will be talking about, like, on a high level, the global connectivity and Oman's position in this area. I know that yesterday we did talk about this, extensively, and it was discussed. But then I'll try to cover it from a different perspective. So mainly my presentation would be focusing on three areas. So first of all, I would be talking about Oman's international connectivity. Then some global trends that we are seeing of how and what are the players who are driving the international bandwidth growth and capacity. And then in the last part, I'll be talking about some of the regulatory work that we've been doing in this area, and that would further Oman's cause as, becoming a connectivity hub. So I'm sure you would be aware of this map, and you would have seen it multiple times. We see a lot of cables, in the region. Mostly 21 out of those, there are around 21 cables, which are connecting the Middle East, and half of them do land in Oman currently. So 18 cables are currently landing in Oman. So that shows the diversity of the cables and the players. We have around 7 geographically diverse cable landing stations also, from the north of the country to the south as well in Salalah. More recently, we have seen introduction of, or the establishment of, the carrier neutral data centers. We did talk about it yesterday as well. And what these CNDCs do is, like, they provide co-location facilities to the local operators as well as CDNs, and they enable cross-connect. So then we have also around 40 hyperscalers and CDNs which are located within Oman. And there are 6 more or even more cables, which are expected to land in the future. So this shows, like, the diversity in the infrastructure. Of course, one of the reasons is due to the geographical, location of Oman, which sits looking, open in the Arabian Sea, and also towards the north there's the Gulf of Oman. But also because of the political environment and to some extent the regulations and the competitiveness of the local operators as well. Now, shifting focus towards what are the trends in global connectivity. So more recently, this comes from the research of telegeography. So we've seen that there is a new cable boom, especially driven by the content providers and the hyperscalers, who are taking more interest now in investment into new cables. So either they partly own the cable, or sometimes they also own the cable themselves. And it is expected that, from 2023 to 2025, there will be around $10 billion of investment, which would bring around 78 new cables extending 300,000 kilometers. And this growth has been, is exponential, hasn't been there in the past 20 years. Also, in terms of the bandwidth growth, we have seen that, as I said, the hyperscalers are now driving growth in international capacity. And they are increasingly investing in different cables. So Google has more than 26 cables, and Meta is also catching up. Now, these hyperscalers or CDNs or content providers are more interested in landing cables where there is inter-data center connectivity. So this is the trend that we are seeing. Apart from this, also there is demand. It's being driven by the route diversity. So of course, resilience, having alternate routes, direct connectivity, and also some geopolitical events. Now, I'd like to explain this graph a little bit. So over here, on the top left side of the graph, you can see that the growth rate of international bandwidth increase has decelerated over the past 5 years. However, as an aggregate, the capacity has overall increased, so almost like reaching to 5 petabits per second. So we see an increase overall. Now, on the bottom left, we see region-wise. So some regions show more growth, like Africa shows like compared to other regions, the growth is much more. And then most of the regions, they have seen like a more stable or consistent growth of 35 to 40%. US and Canada being, because of the maturity in the markets, has seen less growth in total international bandwidth capacity. If you look at the top right-hand side of the graph, we see who is actually dominating or how this bandwidth is being used or utilized. So we see that in the US routes, the transatlantic, trans-Pacific routes, where we see most of the hyperscalers are located in the US. So they are actually the traffic that we see occupying this capacity is from the content providers. However, if you see the Middle East, and we talked about this extensively, I think, how Middle Eastern operators, our players are maybe competing, or there is a lot of work to do in the peering area. So in the Middle East, we see that most of the traffic is still being driven by the international backbone providers, like the traditional providers, of capacity. And now then looking on to the bottom right side of the graph, which is, this one, we see that, so overall the bandwidth growth has increased in all the regions and mainly driven by content providers. In Middle East, it's much more than other regions. Now, in TRA also, we are monitoring the usage of the international internet bandwidth as an indicator. And over here, you can see the data from the past 5 years. We see that there is a steady increase, or mainly it has remained like stable for some times, and then we see like steps, going up somewhere around 2022 in April, and then again in the beginning of 2024. So this mainly is caused primarily because of the private network interconnect for some hyperscalers in 2022. And in 2024, we know that due to some geopolitical events, there had been some cables which are severed, and the operators had to buy additional capacity on alternate routes going towards the east, towards Singapore, and then also towards the west in Europe. So looking at the key developments in the past 5 years, we know that, Oman, this is specific to Oman, so what we have seen is the establishment of the MC1 data center from Equinix, which is a carrier neutral data center. And as I mentioned previously, that half of the 21 cables which are landing in the Middle East, half of them are connecting Muscat. So MC1 sits very well in Muscat on the north side. And in addition to that, we have also seen the introduction of the establishment of the AWS Direct Connect. So we know AWS provides a lot of web services. It's a big player in the cloud region and also in AI ML. In addition to that, we have seen also the establishment of a new entity called Zain Oman International. So this is actually, going to complement Oman's position or connectivity in the wholesale area with Zain's huge presence or significant presence in the Middle East because it covers a lot of different markets in the Middle East. We have also recently seen the establishment of Oman IX from Awasar, which is also going to help in localizing the content, because then you don't have to transit or go to different areas to connect. So this is going to help also in terms of the latency and performance. And more recently, we have seen the opening of the Salalah data center, SN1, from Equinix as well. Now, shifting focus towards the regulatory work that we do. So we talked about how international cables are connecting different regions. Now, as a regulator in the telecom sector, previously we did not have any regulation in this area. So we now are, this is a work in progress actually. So we're working on this regulation, which is going to streamline the permitting process. So in the past, there were around like 8 or 9 entities from where any interested party had to get, like permits to be able to start the survey and start the laying work of the cables. And now it's going to be done through the regulator. So we'll have like an electronic portal where the interested parties can submit their requests, and then they would be focused, or they would be then distributed to the different entities so that they can, like, each one of them has a different requirement, so they would then be able to review and then provide their comments. In addition to this, also it would help to set the rules and regulations for landing the cable. So this is, more of a transparent process plus the regulations. In addition, also there's going to be some specific timelines for processing the requests, which is also going to help. We are going to set some fees, of course. There is also an introduction of an advanced permitting process. If in case of cable maintenance and repair, we don't want to delay the repair work. Now also we know that there are some guidelines from ICPC, so we are also setting those for the cable protection. As a regulator, we also regulate the competition. So we are currently reviewing our what we call as the reference access and interconnection offers. So there are different markets and in the wholesale area, and we identify the dominant players in these areas, and then we set some regulations of how they should be able to open up their infrastructure. So the new services that are added in the RIO is the access to passive infrastructure, it's allowing leasing of dark fiber, something called VULA, and then cross-connect at the local POPs as well. In addition to this, previously we had capacities calculated using STM1, but now we are introducing higher capacities because of the demand that is coming, so 1G, 10G, and 100G. And of course, another aim of this regulation is to review the prices and make it more affordable to drive further development in this area. And of course, there are KPIs and SLAs as well, which are introduced, and this is going to help improve the overall performance. This is the last slide. So what we're doing is we are also independently measuring the internet performance as experienced by the end users. And for this purpose, we have partnered with SAMNOS, and we have installed some probes around the country. Now, these measurements help us to assess the end user experience from the technology point of view, so different access technologies, different ISPs, and across geographies, so how they are performing. This actually confirms what we've been talking about, So we can see on the top, the graph is showing the latency as experienced by different video conferencing applications. So we can see the content providers who are located in Oman provide much lower latency compared to some others. So we can see Google across all operators, and this is for FTTH, across all operators provides the lowest latency for video conferencing. And Microsoft Teams is slightly on the higher side, and GoToMeeting and Zoom still, because of their, they don't have a presence over here, so that's why they have a much higher latency. Also, in terms of the CDN's performance, we see most of the CDNs, the big players are present over here, and they're providing much lower latencies like Akamai, and then Amazon, Cloudflare, Google, Limelight, and so on. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks for your presentation. My name is Yazid. I work for ICANN.
Can you raise it?
Just out of curiosity, what is the vantage point for those measurements, the latencies? Is it from the user perspective? Is it from the data center perspective? Could you elaborate a little more?
So it is the vantage point or the measurement point for this is the users, so the end users. But it's more, the methodology is to ensure that these measurement probes are distributed geographically, not just centralized to one location.
On location.
They are distributed across different ISP networks. Also, we get volunteers from different, who are subscribed to different technologies and different plans. Okay. So we have a comprehensive overview of the performance, and we can compare as well.
And my next question will be, is there any analysis of where the server of this different conference platform located in that could actually impact the latency between the user and the server? Yeah,
so as you say, we can from the graph you can see that some of the players they perform much well because of their geographic location in Oman.
I probably missed that.
But some of them are, as we know, that they are not located within Oman. So there is work required in this area of how to bring those players, to host over here. Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Thank you.